This episode of the Occultae Veritatis podcast is brought to you by Studio Headphones. A little later on in the episode, Sage is going to do a review of these headphones, but for now, use our code OVPOD on Studio's website to get 15% off your first purchase.
Warning, this podcast contains violence, sexuality, gore, and other horrible and disturbing things. Listener discretion is advised. Also, be aware that the hosts of this venture are ignorant dipshits, so please do not take anything they say as fact. And enjoy the show.
Now, are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then we'll begin.
Today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be.
The atoms in your left hand probably came from a different star than your right hand.
It is our basic human right to be fucked up.
A second plane now has crashed into the other tower of the World Trade Center.
Putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
The defendant shall be incarcerated for the rest of her natural life with no possibility of parole.
You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men.
We were somewhere around Barstow, on the edge of the desert, when the drugs began to take hold.
Occultae Veritatis.
Hello and welcome to Occultae Veritatis. I am Sage Murray.
Fuck you.
Whoa! You're stepping on my intro.
I'm Leon Filger.
I'm Oud Gallifrey.
And in studio with us,
Emmy. Yay, Emmy! All right, today, so what's your poison?
So, what's your poison?
We are taste testing Wiser's spiced whiskey, and particularly we're testing the vanilla flavored version of it.
I hate A, Wiser's, B, spiced, C, whiskey, and D, vanilla.
Well, you're going to hate this.
I don't taste the vanilla.
It smells like nail polish remover.
That's my favorite.
Good sign.
Acetone.
That just tastes like happiness. Oh, the reaction was very visceral.
It tastes like sweet nail polish remover. Blah.
Have you ever made model airplanes? You know, like airplane glue?
Yeah.
That like dissolves polypropylene and polystyrene?
Yeah.
That's the smell I'm getting from it.
Oh, acetate then if it's nail polish remover and glue. Ugh.
Oh, goody.
It would probably, okay, I'm getting like an aftertaste of vanilla. It would probably be really good with like a cream soda. But by itself, it is unpleasant.
You know, I bet it would taste good with a root beer.
It's just running out of my mouth.
It's running out. Escaping.
Leon actually shuddered. I thought he might puke for a moment there. Oh, God, it really does smell like nail polish remover.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Like, I could see mixing it with a lot of something, but you can't. It's not a sipping liquor at all.
No, it's not a sipping liquor. Oh, there's a gag.
Everything about that is bad.
Wait, just give it a moment, and then it gets like sweet.
I would rather just drink vanilla extract, thank you.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
So
I respect that.
Do you guys want to know why I've been feeding you kind of random booze from elsewhere?
Yes, why?
Trying to get rid of it?
One of my side jobs from a few years back was being an alcohol tester, and I had to pick out.
I believe you.
I had to pick out the alcohol that I was additioning, or sorry, not testing, additioning. So I was pitching alcohol in the liquor store. So I picked out my dark rum that I had to talk up, and I had to compare it to some other bottle of my choice and talk that one down. And those were my orders.
And then you got to take the bottles home at the end of the day.
Yes. So I tried to time it that I would have both bottles run out just before the end of my shift, and I would just crack open 2 new bottles so I'd be able to take them in. And This Wiser's vanilla whiskey was one of the bottles that I compared against.
Smart man.
Yeah.
How long ago was this? How old has this bottle of liquor been open?
This is last November, so a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
All right. Well, I think it would be better mixed. I think it would be fine mixed.
It didn't improve with age at any rate.
No, it did not improve with age.
I'm going to wash it down with a mouthful of this delicious cider.
No.
Fuck yeah.
I like it.
Episodes.
6 out of 10.
I would give it like a 3.5, I guess. Whatever.
5 naked Sam Squanches out of a sheep, Richard Dawkins, and a bestiality movie.
The Sam Squanch.
Sam Squanch.
Sam Squanch.
All right.
Hollywood has long showed an obsession with Area 51.
Welcome to Earth.
From aliens to UFOs, it helped fuel a perception that the government has been holding on to top secret information about this remote facility in the Nevada desert. Until now, it had only really existed in places like the X-Files on television, but newly released CIA documents officially acknowledge the site for the first time. Annie Jacobson spent several years researching Area 51, publishing her findings in a book.
This has kind of become a national pastime and a great debate, about aliens. And the locus of this is Area 51.
But if you're looking to gain insight into aliens or spaceships, you might be disappointed. The report makes no mention of those things. Instead, it says that Area 51 was a testing site for the government's aerial surveillance programs during the Cold War. Not that sensational, but it's likely to cause more fascination about this mythical place.
I think any document that comes out about Area 51 stirs up the pot of intrigue. People are inherently fascinated with Area 51. It says so much about national security secrets. So I think any new release makes people even more interested.
The documents obtained through a public records request by an academic researcher may put an end to questions about the site's existence. But experts like former CIA officer Bob Baer, who calls it one of the agency's biggest secrets, says the debate will rage on about whether we're really alone.
No, this isn't going to go away. The myths about Area 51 will always be out there. I don't even know what went on there. And I was in the CIA a very long time, and people that worked out there have told me recently they didn't know all that was going on there. So there's sort of, secrets within secrets, and it will always remain a mystery. And always remain a place of fascination.
For Out Front, Dan Simon, CNN, San Francisco.
Yeah, Mike, what are the rumors surrounding it, if you know?
That they had captured alien spacecraft and put there, which was, based on the fact that they had captured enemy aircraft and put them there. But the other top secret thing is that McCarran Airport in Las Vegas, they've got these secret flights that come out twice a week, where they've got some kind of aircraft that flies out a whole bunch of staff out to Area 51 and back. It's just a bunch of staff. They're flying out of Las Vegas and going to this military air base. They do the same sort of flights to Edwards Air Force Base that people know about.
But why?
Why don't they talk about it?
Why do they go there?
Because people need to work there. Because there's an active airport there. Because it's an Air Force base where they're still testing stuff, but none of it's secret anymore.
Okay.
Yeah, they're just. You can't really drive there conveniently from Las Vegas. There's something called the extraterrestrial highway that goes by there, and it's a big tourist trap. There's a town called Rachel, Nevada nearby where they sell UFO shit, but there's...
I'd buy it.
I'd buy it too, but no, there's nothing at all special about it.
No. Yeah. From somebody who's worked on a military base, if you try and drive onto the tarmac area of any base, you'll be stopped and turned around.
Well, you've been at Cold Lake. There's a hangar at CFB Cold Lake, Fort Wayne Cold Lake, Alberta, that both Ood and I have worked at before.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a squadron there called 80, the Aircraft Experimental Test Establishment. And they've got their own hangar there where they test special shit. It's sort of like the Canadian version of Skunk Works. The most top secret thing that we've ever done in Canada is there's a dry dock in Esquimalt, British Columbia, at CFB Esquimalt, where we've got these Victoria class old diesel subs that we bought off the United Kingdom for cheap. They're pieces of shit. They catch fire all the time. But interesting thing, tested at CFB Esquimalt is the world's most advanced submarine propeller.
Oh, goody.
Cool.
I know because I went there and I saw it, because that's how fucking top secret it was. They had a blanket draped over it so no one would fucking take pictures of it. It's super top secret.
Very sneaky.
Very sneaky.
Super sneaky.
But yeah, Canada at the time, which was a decade or so ago, was testing the most efficient, special, top secret submarine screw ever that they were putting on this shitty old diesel submarine.
Oh my God.
It was pretty cool, actually.
Yeah. So, as far as Canada goes, the most secret shit we've got is in the 80 hangar at Cold Lake. And, I watched someone vomit outside that hangar once, and that's about my only association with it.
Yeah.
And then, the top secret shit we got at Esquimalt. Area 51 had this big reputation because no one could get there.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And those were in the days before you could get Google Earth, satellite images.
Right.
So it had this big reputation for being secret because it was, and people who trespassed were shot.
Yeah.
And there was the Nellis bombing range was very nearby. So they were testing like atomic weapons close by. I mean, it was like the White Sands Missile Test Range in New Mexico was the same kind of place. They were doing the same kind of shit.
Yeah.
They were detonating nuclear bombs that you could see from downtown Las Vegas. It was near Area 51.
Another thing that added to the mystique of Area 51 is all these weird stories coming from random people. I think the most famous of these was the frantic call that was made to Art Bell. He was the host of Coast to Coast AM. Coast to Coast, if you don't know, is a show where they try and talk about paranormal, secret, conspiracy, all that kind of stuff surrounding it. They basically have a let's find out about all the secrets out there and let's take calls from people and they can tell us their secrets. And one day, a man called and he sounded very frantic and panicked, and he was talking about Area 51. Here's a clip of that.
Line, you're on the air. Hello.
Hello, Art.
Yes.
Hi. I don't have a whole lot of time.
Well, look, let's begin by finding out whether you're using this line properly or not.
Area 51.
Yeah, that's right. Were you an employee or are you now?
A former employee.
Former employee.
I was let go on a medical discharge about a week ago, and I've kind of been running across the country. Oh man, I don't know where to start. They're gonna they'll triangulate on this position really, really soon.
So you can't spend a lot of time on the phone. So give us something quick.
Okay. Okay. What we're thinking of as aliens, Art, they're extra-dimensional beings that an earlier precursor of the space program made contact with. They are not what they claim to be. They have infiltrated a lot of aspects of the military establishment, particularly the Area 51. The disasters that are coming, the military. I'm sorry, the government knows about them, and there's a lot of safe areas in this world that they could begin moving the population to now, Art.
But they're not doing anything.
They are not. They want the major population centers wiped out so that the few that are left will be more easily controllable.
Discharge.
I started getting...
In some way, something knocked us off the air, and we're on a backup system now.
It's the government, or...
I don't know.
It has to be something, though.
Well, did you hear... Now, you tell me, because you were listening.
That was awful strange.
There was a really weird guy on the air when it went off?
Yeah. Real weirded out.
Like, going... Sort of sounding paranoid, schizophrenic?
Like crying and everything.
Yeah. And how far into the conversation was it when it went off?
Just a couple, about 15, 20 seconds, I'd say.
Oh, you guys you really missed a call then, and I've got a feeling somebody didn't want you to hear it.
Yeah. Because it was really strange. All of a sudden, I'm hearing Mark Furman, and That's
right. Well, the network, of course, went immediately to a backup tape while we tried to figure out what blew up here. So that's what you heard happen. And then we're now on a backup link system.
Area 51 was special, unlike Edwards, in that Edwards is a huge dry lake and it's bigger than Area 51, and it's a salt flat. But there are not a lot of really huge mountain ranges around Edwards, so it's hard to hide anything there. Whereas in Area 51, the Tikaboo Mountains are all around it, so it's sort of like a crater in the middle of the desert that's really easy to hide stuff. Back in the day, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, there were some roads you could get to that were a lot closer to Area 51. In the 80s, they shut down those roads and backed people off so that you couldn't even get to some of the peaks that were closer to Area 51.
Because anybody with a decent pair of binoculars would be able to see something.
And that's what they were doing, but all the exciting testing they were doing of like the SR-71 and the U-2 was all happening at night anyway, so there was nothing to see. The aircraft were painted black. It was not anything top secret. And so the only thing that was really sketchy was like I said, when they were testing captured Russian MiGs during Vietnam, which you definitely don't want people to see about because there are Russian or Soviet spies everywhere. But I mean, even in the case of Soviet spies, what are they spying on? Their own aircraft that were developed a decade ago. Like there's nothing special. Yeah. The Americans wanted to know what the capabilities were of these aircraft. And so they are flying them, like I said, with U.S. markings, but there's nothing at all special about those aircraft. I mean, there were rumors at the time that they were, putting new American engines in these MiGs and trying to make like super MiGs. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. They were never used. The Americans never flew an aircraft that looked like any of the MiGs we had captured. I mean, the Russian and American technology were roughly the same. The Americans were flying the F-4 Phantom, and before that, the F-86 Sabre in Korea and Vietnam. They were good planes. The Russians had the MiGs and the Yaks. They were also good planes. They were fairly evenly matched. Right now, the Sukhoi company out of Russia is designing the most advanced fighter jet ever. It's like, I think the Sukhoi 37 or something like that. It's pretty advanced. Better than the MiG-29. It's better than the F-35, which we've talked about, which is a piece of shit fighter. I'm going to do an episode upcoming about the Canadian procurement process for these new fighter jets we're doing, because there's a whole bunch that are coming online now, including the Avro Aero 2, which is a group of aircraft designers who are putting together a completely new, advanced, updated version of the Aero. Looks just like it, but is like way the fuck better.
Call back.
And they are very clearly in contention for the Canadian contract if the F-35 goes south, which is looking like it might. We could end up with the Eurofighter Typhoon, the Dassault, Raphael, which is a French fighter, like I said, the Eurofighter, which is now like being built majority by Airbus, space and military, which is pretty cool. So yeah, we could end up seeing the Avro Aero 2 as Canada's next frontline fighter.
Well, that's exciting.
That's pretty awesome. I hope that happens just to catch that piece of legacy that got away so many years ago.
Well, and they're doing if they can get a major arms manufacturer to pick it up, like McDonnell Douglas isn't going to do it, Boeing's not going to do it, Lockheed's not going to do it, but if they could get someone, also Saab, the new Gripen fighter they've got out is pretty sweet, and those are actually designed to work where it's cold, so that's something that might be in life. Could work up here,
because that's one of the problems with the F-35.
It doesn't work when it's cold.
Good for Canada.
Yeah, it's great for Canada.
I don't know anything about planes.
Me either.
Okay, well, you and me both, girl.
Those are the new innovations that are coming up, and I'll do an episode on them. That's really all I have about Area 51. It was all hype. There's nothing really terribly special about it. It's not top secret anymore.
Yeah, and I guess
I'm disappointed.
Sorry, man.
It's okay.
Back when they had super secret stuff, they had a kind of a reason to be very aggressive and shoot people.
Well, I mean, like the SR-71 and the U-2 were both like, that was serious shit. You did not want the Russians to know about that. But nowadays, it's impossible to hide anything.
Yeah. And I guess that's about it. I want to believe in Area 51. I want to believe there's something mysterious, and I want to believe that there's, a Stargate and aliens and spacecraft and weird stuff there, but we can't find any evidence for it. The people that speak out are usually revealed to not be ex-employees, even though they say they are. There's a few people that are ex-employees, but they're in very advanced age and have some signs of dementia and schizophrenia and stuff like that. And there just isn't a reliable source of these rumors of aliens at this base. I want to believe, but I'm sorry, listeners, we couldn't find any evidence. This is just what we got. So before we move on to Leon's episode-ending segment, Sexy Questions, we have to pay the mortgage around here. And I believe Sage is calling in with a little review of some wonderful studio headphones.
Hello, it's Sage. So, we recently hit a milestone in podcast land. We got a sponsor. And this sponsor is Studio Sweden, and they sent us 3 pairs of headphones, and Ood, Leon, and I have been spending the last while trying them out, and here is my review of them. I got white ones because I'm a little bit of a basic bitch, and I adore them. They were easy to pair with my phone, but they also have a cord if you want to do the cord thing. And the sound is amazing. They fit on my ears comfortably. I have a tiny little head, so it's really nice. And they've been the best headphones that I've ever had. So thank you, Studio. I love your product. And you guys should all get them because they're amazing. Love you, bye.
Thank you, Sage. And if you guys want to get your hands on these Studio headphones, that is SUDIO, all you have to do is use our promotion code OVPOD, OVPOD at checkout, and you get 15% off. Isn't that nice?
Sexy questions.
We're going to do 3 sexy questions, but I'm doing 1 sexy question tonight because it's a pretty in-depth topic and I want a little bit of discussion about it.
All right.
Okay.
So I'd spoken to a friend a few years ago about consent. We're having a discussion about consent, which is something I'll have to talk about.
Enthusiastic and ongoing.
Enthusiastic, and we were talking about the controversy surrounding...
You say controversy? Love you.
About the controversy surrounding sober consent. So the discussion... Fuck you guys.
Controversy.
The discussion had
We're
ranged
secretly
around...
English here.
I'm dying.
So the suggestion had been that based on the fact that consent must be informed, it must be enthusiastic, it must be sober, it must be irrevocable, etc. We'd said, well, if consent must be sober, then by that logic, no one is allowed to have sex when they've been drinking, which is clearly not true. I mean,
Right.
I mean, yes, you should be allowed to have sex after you've been drinking.
Right now, I'm sober enough to give consent. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not blackout drunk. I'm a little bit tipsy.
Yeah, but I mean, the idea is no. When you're pretty fucking drunk, you should still be able to have sex with a consenting partner. So the question I have is: A, do you believe that all consent must be sober? B, is your belief that, for example, in the same vein as revocable consent, that you could establish ahead of time that yes, we consent. However, if we say no at any point, consent is revoked and then consent can't be reestablished until we're sober? Or can you never have sex at all or give consent when you're intoxicated? Does it matter if it's some random you meet? Does it matter if it's a regular partner who you've had intoxicated sex with before and you know that you're both cool with that? What are your opinions on how sober or revocable consent has to be surrounding the specific topic of sober consent?
Well, I think that as long as you get an enthusiastic yes, and you're not like blackout drunk, and for all you people that are listening are like, oh, well, I don't know if you're blackout drunk. Yes, you do. You do know. You know when your partner's blackout drunk. If they're blackout drunk, don't have sex with them. If they're tipsy like me right now, and I give you an enthusiastic, fuck yeah, let's have sex, then let's have sex.
And I think what you mentioned is kind of the key of it. Like, you said you should know if your partner's blackout drunk, and I think that's the key. Like, if you're with somebody new or you're having, I don't know, a one-night stand or you're just hooking up,
Yeah,
I think...
Which is fine.
I think a one-time thing should always be sober because you don't really know how that person behaves.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't personally think I don't think you can pick someone up at the bar and go drunk home with them and either of you have consensual sex. I don't think that's a possibility. I don't think if you pick someone up at the bar, whatever sex you end up having at home at their house or your house when you're drunk is probably not going to be consensual.
Probably not.
But if you've got a regular partner who, like, your regular thing is like, yeah, we're going to consent and then get drunk and we're going to have drunk sex because sex is great when you're drunk if that's your thing, which is not for me because I think sex is terrible when you're drunk. But if that's your thing, and you establish the fact that you can revoke consent if at any point someone's like, yeah, I'm not into this, okay, we'll still stop, I think that's okay. But I don't think you can take someone drunk home from the bar and have consensual sex with them.
Yeah.
For me, I think it's a little bit tricky because I have had a partner who, in a previous relationship, he had gotten drunk with an ex and they slept together. And then all of her friends ganged up on him for assaulting her, even though they were both equally drunk at the time. They weren't blackout drunk, but they were definitely past the legal limit.
Right.
And the consent issue was only framed on him. So having heard actual stories in recent years of this shit going sideways, for me, unless it's an established, like, fairly stable relationship, anything more than the legal limit for driving, which in Saskatchewan is pretty low, thank fuck. For me, that's a hard pass. But I do like the idea of, in an existing relationship, being able to negotiate while you're sober, and then later on, hi, kitty. Sorry, there's a cat coming to say hi, and he is adorable. She, sorry. I misgendered a cat. Oh, God.
Okay. I'll allow it.
In an existing relationship, being able to, have that agreement ahead of time.
And that level of trust.
That level of trust. And knowing that it's in a healthy, stable place in that relationship too, as opposed to a relationship that's kind of on the rocks or on again, off again. Like,
or not even a relationship, just a one-night stand.
But
which
also
is
knowing what no means. Because, I mean, we're told in consent, like, no means no, but there are a bunch of other things that mean no.
Mm-hmm.
So I think with having that relationship with your partner, knowing what their no's are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, like, especially, like, bringing someone home from the bar, you have no idea what means no to them.
Exactly.
And trying to establish even like enthusiastic consent from someone who's drunk who you've never met before, I think is impossible, because anyone who's drunk and horny is going to give enthusiastic consent and the next day realize like, no, that wasn't consensual at all.
Yeah.
Whereas I think like in the context of that trusting relationship, you know what your partner's no's are, even if it's not.
And you know when to stop.
And you know when to stop, because there should never be that case where you wake up the next morning with them and be like, hey, I wasn't cool with what we did last night.
Yeah.
And as long as you can make sure you're in a position where that never occurs, I think you're fine.
Yeah.
That's going to happen to, I'm sorry, but those consent gray areas happen to people all the time.
Yeah.
Even in those highly negotiated relationships, it's going to happen in somebody's lifetime. It's just a case of knowing that that's going to happen and doing your best to mitigate it happening and talking about it afterward. Like respectful human beings.
Yeah.
Well, here's some TMI. I actually have sexsomnia, which means that while I'm asleep, I can initiate and have sex with my partner without waking up. Like, some mornings I wake up and Daniel tells me, oh, hey, we had sex last night. And I'm like, oh, I don't remember any of it because I was asleep the whole time. Mm-hmm. And that's definitely a gray area. And we've had
the worst is when she tells
that.
you, like, you were fucking awesome and you had a great time.
Yeah.
Your orgasm was phenomenal. And you're like, fuck, I don't remember. Damn it.
Well, she tells me that, like, I'm way more instinctual and, like, in the moment and all that, so it's interesting. But, like,
as long as you've established, like, that's okay. Like, you're okay with her having sex with you, and she's okay with you having sex with her.
Yeah.
Right?
And apparently, like, if she tells me, like, no, I'm tired, like, I just roll over and go back to sleep, so it's not problematic in that sense.
Well, I've known couples where, like, one of them is a really, really deep sleeper, and they've had that specific discussion, like if you wake up and you're horny and I'm not waking up, you can fuck me without me waking up and I'm okay with that. Whereas under any other circumstance, no, that's definitely sexual assault.
Yeah,
that's
not
definitely
consensual. Rape unless you've had
But
the
if you've
conversation.
negotiated that in your relationship and it's like, yeah, I'm okay if you fuck me and I don't wake up, well then that becomes okay.
Yeah.
Although legally, that you'd probably still run into issues if they decided to press charges because they can't actually.
You would hope
consent then.
you would hope you trust your partner enough that would be the sort of situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if you don't trust your partner enough that you're not sure if they would press charges, you shouldn't probably put yourself in this situation where that could become problematic.
Agreed.
Alrighty, so I think that wraps
That's
that up.
my 3 sexy questions. That's one not so sexy consenty question, but thanks. It was a good conversation.
I'm sorry, consent is really fucking sexy.
Yeah. Consent is super sexy.
Yeah, and I think anybody that tries to reduce it to a black and white, like rule of thumb, like...
Or that fucking app that you, like,
Oh my
sign.
God.
Consent is ongoing. Like, are you into this?
Consent is a
yes or
moment-to-moment conversation.
Right? Like, as soon as, say, someone pulls your hair in the wrong way, like, I don't like that. I want you to do it like this. Cool.
You're
not consenting to that, but you're consenting to this.
I'm a big fan of safe words. Like, in my relationship, we use red light, green light, yellow light.
Yeah.
So it's like, are you still good? Like, good touch, yeah, it's good touch, still good touch, yeah, it's good touch.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you get to like a yellow light, it's like, I'm cool with what we're doing, but don't go
further than that.
Don't go any further than that.
Yeah.
And red light is like, we're stopping. That's it. Like, that's the safe word. We're done.
Mm-hmm.
And if you here's the like the overarching this is Leon's declaration on sex consent in relationships. If you cannot have like the conversation that we're having now in this podcast, if you cannot have that conversation with your partner, you need to not have that partner.
Yeah.
Because if you can't have that conversation, you have no business having sex with that person.
Mm-hmm. If you're not comfortable either asking what they like or making it clear what you like and don't like,
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't do
there
it.
are lots of other people to have sex with.
Yeah, just go masturbate and then go to bed. You'll be fine.
Call it a day.
That's why we have porn.
That's why we have
exactly.
Yeah, and plus you're making society a better place. I mean, if you're choosing not to fuck people who don't agree with consent, then you're depriving somebody of sex who deserves to be deprived of sex.
Well, no, nothing is better than nothing makes sex better than knowing you've got right the fuck on hard on consent.
Like,
the
please
whole time.
continue to do this.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Yeah, my ex-girlfriend was very, 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 very into consent, and I got into the habit of going, I'd really like to kiss you, and there would be this response of, fuck yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
And
it's
nothing
just
makes
so
it better than
yes.
that. Yeah.
And that's so hot.
Yes. Oh my God.
Yeah, and you can ask for consent in a sexy way. It doesn't have to be boring like legalese. Like, do you consent me putting your penis into your vaginal canal?
Or do you like that? Like, yeah, I do. Or
yeah, do you like that?
Or maybe do
Can
it
I
this
keep
way.
going? Can I put my hand in your pants? Like, can I?
Yeah.
Like,
Can I do this?
Can I take off your pants? Yes, you can. Okay, roll right on. That's fucking incredible.
Consent is super sexy.
Whereas, like, I mean, we've all done like the awkward relationship where it's like, I'm gonna try to take off her pants down. Maybe she'll stop me. Maybe it's like, can I take off your pants? Take off my fucking pants. Okay,
That's
right
way
on,
hotter
like,
than the
way hotter than not knowing.
Yeah.
So ask if you're not sure, and if you're not sure if you like it, say no. There's nothing wrong with it. You can do something else. You can go and
talk about it ahead of time when you're not horny and not drunk.
Yeah.
Like, this is a good, like, consent is a good sober conversation to have ahead of time on your first date.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Use your words.
Use your words.
Use your
We're like, you're presumably adult.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one sexy question, Leon Filgert.
Alrighty, that's it for this episode. Join me after the palate cleanser for the after show, where we're going to be welcoming in a new patron. I'm going to bitch about Trump's military parade. Playing us out is the artist Tours with their song Enthusiast, a little electronica for your day. Thank you for listening. I need to play more electronica because I honestly love it. But more importantly, we have a new Patreon to welcome into our Patreon family. So welcome the brand new occultist, pledging at the $5 buy us a beer level, Jessica Reinstein. Welcome to the family. And not only did she buy a beer, she is pledging $10 a month, which means she's buying cocktails.
Dry martini, lemon peel, shaken, not stirred.
So President Trump wants a military parade. As a former military member, I'm going to comment on this. Now, he's trying to frame it in a way that says, I'm doing this for the military, I'm doing this for the troops, but as a former Canadian troop, I would like to clear up all those misconceptions. A parade involves practice, primarily drill practice, which means you're going to have to meet up before your shift, before you have to go into work, possibly after you go into work, or on your free time, or on your weekends, or any other free time you had before the parade was planned, and you have to practice drill routines. Now, some people in the military like drill, but from the people I know, most military members just tolerate drill because it's part of the process, and it's part of showing how coordinated you are and all that shit. So, practicing drill on free time, not for the troops. Also, getting up early and wearing your dress uniform, not for the troops. Also, marching for hours on end and having to prep the vehicles and having to practice flag parade and having to practice the parade itself a couple times before it goes forward, not for the troops. Those are all things that the troops do not want to do. This is transparently an effort to stroke Trump's ego because he's so hurt. Oh, mommy, CNN doesn't like me. Pentagon, throw me a parade to make me feel better. That's probably really reductive and insulting, but I don't give a damn. I need to rant about this because he is trying to say that the troops want this. We got to do this for the troops because they'll have pride, and it's not about that. It's about him stroking his little hurt feelings. That's what this is about. It's about making him feel better for whatever inadequacies and all that he figures that he has. That's what the focus of this is. Anyway, I think I've talked about politics enough. If you're not familiar with the podcast, we wear our politics and our opinions on our sleeve. We don't try and hide them. You know, it wouldn't feel right if we did this inauthentically and tried to hide all our opinions. We're gonna let them out. We're gonna rant. And this current event pushed me over the edge to make me want to rant. Anyways, thank you for tuning in to Occultae Veritatis. If you want to follow us on all our social medias, just go to www.ovpod.ca. At the bottom of the front page there, you'll see a connection to our Twitter, to our Facebook, to our wonderful Facebook group where we post all our stuff, and to our Instagram. And just to let you guys know, if you're not subscribed to our social media, you're really missing out on half the episode because I'm posting articles, videos, pictures that all relate to that week's episode. So if you want a greater context of what we're doing here, just follow us on our social medias, and, well, I guess this week I'll be posting a bunch of Area 51 shit. You know, aerial photos, pictures, all that stuff. So thank you for joining in, thank you for tuning in, thank you guys for supporting the podcast, and, you know, thank you for taking some time out of your day to listen to me rant into a microphone. Have a nice day.